Hey everyone, first of all, I'm sorry if you happen to hear some noise. There's construction outside. Nothing I can do about that. I record when I have time to, and yeah. So if you hear some noise, that's why. And I don't have any of those fancy programs that cancel the noise in the background. Anyway, enough about that. I wanted to make a video about the. This is gonna be kind of like half my opinion on the Malkavian clan in Vampire the Masquerade, and half talking about a character I played once. For a Vampire the Masquerade LARP in the early 2000s. That's how old I am. Yeah, I'm back in my early 20s. So I was somewhere between 20 and 22 when I played that character. Uh, it's a long time ago. So anyway, uh, so the Malkavians, right? For those who don't know, they are in Vampire the Masquerade. Every clan, every vampire clan has a specific weakness, and the Malkavians, their weakness is that they have some sort of mental derangement. And in old school Vampire the Masquerade, it was outright some sort of psychological disorder. And in now more a more modern version of Vampire the Masquerade, maybe to be more sensitive to people with actual real life mental issues, they kind of mention that it's not really mental disorders; it's really a supernatural curse, and that maybe the best way to describe it is this, but it's not really that. Which actually, not even for the political, not even to be politically correct, but I actually like that they did that because let's face it, most of us players are not psychologists or psychiatrists, and we don't really understand these things in detail. So probably like we write down this this mental disorder um, on a paper, on a character sheet, and we play it wrong. You know what I mean? Like we probably have this vague concept of what it is, but probably like a psychologist would sit down, watch our game, and be like, "Yeah, that's not how someone would actually be like that." So, so in that sense, I think it's a good thing that they kind of went. It's not really a mental disorder, but it's kind of like similar to that if you want to. But it's more of a supernatural curse. It's not that straightforward, you know. So I like that, if only because it makes it kind of covers for like player ignorance on the subject matter, to be honest, and that includes me 100%. But anyway, I want to discuss a little bit. I'm going to talk about my character in a moment, but back when I played my Malkavian character, it was for a LARP game, and so live action role playing. It wasn't at the table; it was like in person acting, you know. And even though I've criticized V5 Vampire Masquerade 5th Edition for going with like a LARP feel for their main book, because I feel like the main book should have been just more focused on the tabletop RPG experience. Nevertheless, I did enjoy back in the day LARPing. I'm not against it. I've enjoyed it quite a lot back when I did it. Um, it's just my opinion. Like like there's Mind's Eye Theater. That there's books for LARPing. Books are not for LARPing. I don't know if you should go with photos and all that, but I digress. Um, and back when I was playing Vampire the Masquerade, it was third edition revised, and by then the description of the Malkavians was that Malkavians were normally not going around acting all loony and being weird in public, and that normally it was a truly scary Malkavian when people could see like, oh, there's something off with that vampire, you know. You were not supposed to be playing the Joker or Harley Quinn, you know, or to a degree even Drusilla from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Like the character of Drusilla is a Malkavian, you know, like it's a perfect example of a Malkavian. But in Drusilla's case, I didn't think it was like too loony because when you listen to Drusilla's um, dialogue, there was always some inner logic to it. Actually, if you paid attention, even when it didn't make sense, it kind of makes sense, or it felt like it made sense. You know, like there was some inner logic there. So I liked how Drusilla was portrayed in Buffy the Vampire Slayer as an example. She wasn't official a Malkavian, but she's totally a Malkavian. You know what I mean? Anyway, then for the 20th anniversary of Vampire the Masquerade, which I love that book, um, What I didn't like, what I hated, was that they kind of, for the 20th anniversary, there's some things that they kind of gave up about their mythology. They let people win. They let the fans win because fans were playing a certain way. They just went, you know what, we're going to knowledge how people play. One quick example was in the old versions of Vampire the Masquerade, vampires were not sexual at all. It was all about the about drinking blood. In my opinions, vampires don't really need to. They're walking corpses, and it depends on the story and the genre and all that. But for Vampire Masquerade, it's kind of like, you're playing. They really went deep into you're no longer human. You're playing a monster. So I think it made sense for vampires to no longer have those cravings. It was all blood, and blood is anyway a metaphor or an allegory, whatever, to like vampires feeding on people. It's kind of like an allegory or a metaphor to specific types of predation, like of preying on other people, which includes all the types. So, but so many people like their sexy vampires and all that they, for 20th anniversary, they went like, yeah, vampires also enjoy sexual activity. Like that's one example where they caved in to what fans were actually doing with the game, despite the lore, which I don't care. I never, that's certainly not something I ever went into my roleplay. Like, that's not something I like to roleplay with my friends. So it didn't really affect me either way. I kind of like the idea that their passion is blood. It's not, they're not human anymore. They're not gonna look at someone and go like, oh, that's a nice pair of legs. Like I kind of like that inhuman aspect of vampires for that setting. But that since 20th anniversary, they've done a U-turn on that. That's fine. So that's one example. That didn't bother me. The one change that bothered me though is that they kind of like caved into the fact that everyone's playing Malkavians like the Joker or Harley Quinn, like random and ooh, look at me, and like people were so bad at it back when I was playing. To be honest, like when people were playing Malkavians, it felt like you had like Ace Ventura as a vampire. I think people thought they were playing the Joker or Harley Quinn or something like that. I think they thought they were like chaotic and interesting, but they would do the most random crap that would derail where the story was going. It was completely like, they would use lamentation to have people fight each other out of nowhere for no reason. Like, I don't mind a Malkavian doing weird stuff and messing with others if it serves a purpose or if there's a real justification in the character concept. But it's like they would just walk around doing random crap, like using lamentation so people would fight each other or stuff like that, or uh, and especially at some point, like a Malkavian character had. I was playing another clan. I don't remember which one, but it wasn't a Malkavian. Someone else playing a Malkavian, like just used lamentation on me. We were on the same side, and his idea was really just like, well, he's a Malkavian, has to do something random. That was his notion of a Malkavian, which I hated. I thought, yeah, because I always, because to me, when I read Malkavians in third edition revised, I took it seriously. Like their curse was to have a mental disorder. It wasn't to be goofy. It wasn't to be a random goofy. It was to have a mental disorder. And to me, that was a serious subject matter. It wasn't like, oh, look at me, like I'm the ultimate random extrovert. Like it wasn't that. So okay, so that was one thing that I didn't like when they changed it. When they were like, oh yeah, Malkavians are totally random and they play pranks on other vampires. Like, haha, they emptied the Ventru's bank account. I'm like, would the Ventru really let the Malkavian live? Like the Ventru prince, would the prince be like, yeah, oh, you got me, silly Malkavians? Like, really? That vampire would not survive the night. I'm sorry. I mean, okay, unless they prepare like some counter, like a reason, a blackmail or something for a prince to keep them alive. But like the way they explain it in 20th anniversary and going forward was not satisfying to me. Well, I'd have to reread fifth edition to be honest. But in 20th anniversary, I was really frustrated with the description of Malkavian because it was just like it basically encouraged the playstyle of like you're Ace Ventura as a vampire, you're Jim Carrey doing something comical as a vampire. Okay, so because of that frustration I had, and especially back then, the way people were playing it was really against what was in the book and the lore and what was encouraged in the third edition revised. I don't know about the previous ones, but yeah. because of that, I decided, you know what, I'm gonna play Malkavian, and to what was in my eyes playing a Malkavian right. So what I did is and I wanted to kind of show people, no, this is a Malkavian. So what I did, because I don't remember if that was something I imagined talking to my friends with, or if that was something that I read in the lore, but I seem to remember, at least that was my opinion back then, that it was impolite for a vampire to just go outright and ask someone else, like, oh, what's your clan? Like, that wasn't a polite thing to do. I might have imagined that. That might have been my own. Someone let me know in the comments if you know, but that might have been me, my own fan canon, if you will. But I decided that's how I would play it. If someone asked me my clan, I would be all offended, like we barely know each other. Like, why do you ask me that right away? And I would act like that. And so that was my step one. Like, my character would think it's improper to just go and ask someone like, "What's your clan?" You know. Second, he was going to be a Malkavian, but he was going to have dominate instead of dementation. That was an option. Some Malkavians back in third edition revised, like they used to have dominate, then most of them had dementation except for a few ones. So I was going to go, okay, I'm going to have dominate. And then his mental disorder was going to be that he was going to be a megalomaniac, which means to say someone who thinks like unrealistically highly of himself and what they can do. Like they think they can take over the world if they really want to, and stuff like that. Like it's not, it goes beyond what is logical and realistic and self-aware. So I wasn't playing a goofy character at all. I was playing and I dressed like in a, I don't remember if I wore a full suit or at least a clean shirt with my jacket, and so I think a suit. So I wore a suit, I think. No, okay, I was in my early 20s. I think I had like a leather jacket, but I wore like a clean shirt underneath and actual suit pants. Like I was clearly conveying like a clean cut look, and I swept my hair back, and um, in some ways I can, because of my European face, especially when I was young. If I swept my hair back, it really, like, people make jokes like I looked like I was out of some mobster movie. So I guess some people might have thought it was Giovanni, but because you know, but because I was in the Camarilla, like people assume as I wanted them to, and because they saw me use Dominator, they assume I was a Ventru. So I was playing this clean cut with a shirt, very serious character who acted offended very easily. Like how dare you ask me that? Who are you? Do we know each other? And people are like, oh, he's clearly playing a Ventru, and people are like kind of like, people are like even commenting on how well I was playing a Ventru, and I was just so happy with that, and I wasn't telling anyone. I wasn't going, oh, by the way, out of character, I'm playing a... No, I was keeping it to myself. I was like, let people find out when they find out, and it'll be even better. Call it a Malkavian prank, if you will. And then finally, at some point, it's kind of funny, because also when you're in your early 20s, you're kind of trying to power creep a bit, and I was trying to get the advantage. So many of us would have unbondable, like the merit where you cannot be blood bound. Like bloodbound is when you taste the blood of another vampire, it makes you like them more. You can even fall in love if you take too much blood from another vampire, or at least maybe not love, but like a devotion, if you will. So sometimes, like the way some vampires would deal, it became common practice in the LARP that to trust each other, players would drink from each other's blood. And of course, being in my early 20s, I wanted to have as less flaws as possible, and not be controlled by other players. And it was really important to me to be in control. I was a young guy in his 20s. I got that merit, unbondable, where I cannot be bloodbound. So at some point, me and another player were like, okay, let's, we make a deal. And then, okay, to seal the deal, now we're going to drink each other's blood. And then it was kind of, it's the other player. He goes, okay, by the way, out of character, I have something to tell you. I'm like, go ahead. And he goes, I'm actually unbondable. The blood bonds don't work on me. And I was like, well, you know what? Out of character, same for me. And we kind of started laughing. Ha, ha, ha. And then I went, however, and he goes, I am a Malkavian. So you drinking my blood might have consequences. You should go see your storyteller. Everyone was so convinced I was a Ventru. I still laugh about it to this day. It was so funny how it was just like you know, in The Princess Bride, like, I'm not left-handed. You know what? I'm not left-handed either. You know, like when they're sword fighting, it was just such a funny moment. And however, I seem to recall that the guy didn't even go see a storyteller. He was kind of salty about it, which, but it was just a funny moment. Yeah, because when you drank the blood of a Malkavian, there was a chance that you might get the disorder of the Malkavian, the one of the disorders the Malkavian had. I think, if I remember correctly. So that's why I was like, you might need to go see a storyteller now because you might have a mental disorder now from drinking my blood. And I really played in megalomaniac, like a megalomaniac, and people thought that was event. That's clearly event true, you know. And I would really do stuff that was like not safe for my character. I really went full on. I think because my idea was just to prove a point. It wasn't like the well-being of my character. But oddly enough, it's interesting when you play a megalomaniac who truly believes in himself and does things that they should not be doing. But you're so intense and convinced of it that other people believe you. Like, you know, if I went to the Sabbat territory, like people are like, yeah, maybe don't kill the guy. Uh, feel like he has something up his sleeve. You know, like it was just. I don't know if it was also maybe people just appreciating the role play where they didn't want to kill me off. You know, like. Um, so I think there might have been a little bit of that where people are just enjoying my role play. They're like, wow, this guy's really going for that style. You know. But everyone thought it was a Ventrue, which was also why in Vampire the Requiem, when the Ventrue's like clan curse was actually, if I remember correctly, I might be wrong in Vampire the Requiem. I think the Ventrue's same concept, but their curse is to actually have a mental disorder. And I was like, that makes total sense. That was so much better, I think, for the Ventrue. Actually, the way I like to imagine them for Vampire Third and Revised and the original concept, if you will. If that was how they were portrayed earlier on, I don't know. But that vision I had of Ventrue as very serious characters, like that made sense to me. That people in power often have, or that want to be in power, often have like lots of issues. If you look at real life politicians and such, and so yeah, that's my story of my opinion on the Malkavians, and generally speaking, and how I played one. Um, I might talk more of Vampire Masquerade if people like that. I know that lately I've been talking about other stuff, but you know, like Vampire Masquerade was really important in my early 20s to me, and I get what they did for Vampire Fifth Edition, the style they went with, um, but it doesn't appeal to me as much. Those photos and all that doesn't appeal to me the same way that black and white art did. But that's a video for another day, right? If people are, I don't know, maybe I'll go into it, maybe not. If you're interested in hearing me give my opinions on fifth edition of Vampire the Masquerade, you can certainly leave in the comments of. Or if you want me to talk about anything else about Vampire, I'll be glad to. It's a game that was really important to me once upon a time. Okay, everyone, thanks for watching.